So I'm going to be taking my text today from Exodus 16:14 and down to 16. So verse 14 says, "And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as a hoar frost of the ground on the ground." And 15 said, "And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna, for they know not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat." And my text continuing in verse 16, it said, "This is the thing which the Lord has commanded." That is Moses telling them. He said, "Gather of it every man according to his eating, and omer for every man according to the number of your person. Take ye every man for them which are in his tent." The title of my message today is Recognizing God Answers. You see, God promised, if you read, we started from verse 16, from verse 1, you will know that God promised the people of Israelites bread. He said to them, "I'm going to give them bread." But when God said to them that He's going to give them bread, they must have had this idea in their head what bread looks like. For example, if I mention the name dog right now, if you have a little dog that's in your house, you won't actually think of D-O-G. The first thing that will come to your mind will be the dog that you used to know. So the people of Israel, they knew of a bread that they've been eating in Egypt. Now, when God said to them, "I'm going to give you bread," they must automatically be expecting the ready-made bread. But what God gave to them is what they can use to make bread. You see, sometimes God gives us a promise, and we have this idea in our head what the promise is going to look like. So when we get what God brought and what God is bringing, and it doesn't look like what we expected, sometimes we ignore it. If you go to verse 15 of that thing, the children of Israel said, "What is it?" Because they don't even know what this is. When God said that, "God, you said you're going to give me bread, but why am I seeing this thing that looks like white gray hair on the floor? Like, this is not what you promised me." And I hear God saying, "I don't know who you are, but God promised you a land flowing with milk and honey. But only when you get there, when God took you to take you to the land, the only thing you see is cows and bees." And you started thinking, "Okay, Lord, what's going on? Like, you promised me milk and honey," and God is like, "I'm giving you milk and honey, but in where you came from, you know what milk and honey looks like." That means the people of Israel, they know what bread looks like. It's already made bread, but they need to walk, they need to labor in the end of a taskmaster in order to get this bread. But what God is saying is, "I'm going to allow you to walk again this time around. Except this time, you and I are going to work together. I'm going to provide everything that you need in order to make the bread." Yes, you don't need to know how bread. Some people be like, "Okay, Lord, I don't even know how to make bread." It's like someone tell you, "Okay, do you like this cake?" And you said, "Yeah, I love the cake." "Okay, I'm going to give you the cake." But instead, the person does not just give you the cake. The person started giving you something like flour, something like butter, something like egg. And God is saying, "I'm going to give you everything that you need in order to make that bread, in order to make that cake. And I'm going to sit with you, and I will coach you through it, and I will teach you through it. You will know exactly what you are going to say when you enter into that boardroom. Yes, you don't know how to do this. You've never done this before. You've never taken this kind of contract before. You've never dated this kind of a man before. You never dated this kind of a woman before. But God is saying, "I'm going to coach you through it." Yes, what I'm bringing to you is work in progress. Yes, I promise you I promise you milk and honey. Now you are saying cow, but if only you could look closer, you will understand that this cow is ready for harvest. You just need to get your bowl, you need to get your gloves on, or whatsoever you need. You're going to need to get your table, sit down beside this guy and started bringing it up. Because if you read this scripture down the line, Moses said to them, he said, "Gather ye what you need and prepare it." So that means the bread that God promises, it's actually there. But what it's going to take is you need to make it happen. You see, God said, "I'm going to give you honey," but all you see are bees. But God is saying the honey is inside the bee. The bee is a carrier of the honey. The cow is a carrier of the milk. Yes, you have the idea of what it's going to be, but I don't move the way you expect me to move, because my Bible said God's way is higher than our ways, and His thought is higher than our thought. And my Bible also said the wicked should forsake his thoughts. You need to forsake what you are thinking, what you think it's going to look like. God said, behold, I do new thing. You see, the people of Israel are used to the things that they used to eat. It's like you are used to how it's going to happen. God said, okay, I'm going to do this, and you already have it in your mind how it's supposed to happen. God said it's still happening. And then I want to tell you something. Just because what is right in front of you right now doesn't look like the milk and honey, but all you can see is cow, all you can see is bee, God is saying, do not dismantle it. Do not look at it and say, do not ignore it, because sometimes good things comes in small packages. And in that package, that is what you are looking for. It's inside of it. I don't know who you are, but I'm here to tell you something, that just because you don't know what this thing is, the people of Israel don't know what that thing is. They said, what is this thing? And Moses came and he said, this is the bread that God promised you. In other words, they're going to look at it like, okay, hold on, wait a minute. This is not bread. This thing doesn't look anything like bread. But God promised you bread. But he's saying you're going to need to prepare. That means this time around, your blessing is going to require work. Your blessing is going, and then you are not going to do it alone. God is saying, I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to provide everything that you need in order to make this honey, in order to make this milk, in order to make this bread. But you need to be willing to give in the work. You need to be willing to put in the work. And then if you go through also, the second thing that I wanted to bring out in this text is in verse 16, Moses said unto them, this is the thing which the Lord has commanded. He said, gather it, every man according to the number of your person. First thing is, do not ignore it. Embrace it. Do not say, this is not what I'm looking for. Collect it, receive it. Because when you receive it, that is when God is going to teach you how to use it. Just because what God said is not what you are seeing, God don't move the way we wanted him to move. And another thing, he said, gather it every man according to his eating. Another translation said, every man according to his need. Another said, according to his appetite. In other words, do not envy what God does for somebody else. Everybody is receiving, everybody is collecting according to their own need. You see, God is not going to give to you that which you do not have capacity to handle. If you think, okay, God, why is it that this person is getting all this good stuff? It is because their mindset. God said to Abraham, go out as far as your eyes can see. He said, I am God who can do exceedingly abundantly and above. My Bible said your expectation shall not be cut short. So that means it's as big as you see. If somebody else is dreaming Lamborghini and you are just dreaming Sienna, God is going to give to everyone according to their. If somebody else is saying, okay, well, Lord, I want a mansion, and you are just saying, okay, Lord, I'm just good, if you can just give me a 3-bedroom apartment. He's giving to everyone according to their appetite. So if you want it large, you need to embrace your God. God said embrace your God. In Isaiah said embrace your God. He said embrace it, because there's going to be favor coming in from left and from right, and you need to actually enlarge your mindset. Because if you dream little, you are going to get little. I've heard a man said one time, he said, why will I dream too small when I serve the God too big? Like, I cannot imagine what you're expecting from God or what God has promised you, but you need to start dreaming in such, you have to be crazy when it comes to God. You have to think about crazy stuff, the kind of stuff that you know you cannot get. If you're dreaming, if your imagination, it's actually something you can get, man, you're not dreaming hard enough. You see, I have Brock Potter said, you need to set your goals so high, so much so that you have no idea how you are going to get there. Because if you have an idea you are going to get there, you're not really setting it big enough. You see, your goal needs to scare you and fascinate you at the same time, because you serve a God that created the heaven and the earth. He said, I can do exceedingly, abundantly, and above more than you think and hope for or imagine for. You see, the Psalm said something. He said, it will give you the desire of your heart. You see, Amplified Version, he said, the secret petition, the secret, that means the things that you want. Because you know, if you said it outside, people are just going to be like, who do you think you are? Like, seriously, like, this is impossible. I've had a woman say to me that God don't move like that, except then 24 hours later, God moved like that. It's like the Lord saying to Elisha, even if God is going to open the gate of heaven, can this thing be? And in 24 hours, the thing be. So that means when you are dealing with the Lord, You need to embrace your God. You need to think crazy stuff. You need to imagine the things that it is impossible. I mean, the dude named Peter, he knows it is impossible for him to walk on the water. And he said, Master, if that's you, beg me to come and I'm going to walk on this water. Because he recognized who is on the other side. And he knows that if he can do it, I can also do it. So if you want it, if you are expecting something from the Lord, number one is, first thing, embrace this idea of God is going to do exceedingly and abundantly. And number two, do not discredit it. Do not ignore it just because it comes in small package or it comes in such a way that you are not expecting it to come. Because God said, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts and my ways are higher than your ways. So just because it's not the way you are expecting it to arrive, when it does arrive, do not say this is not it. God, you promised me milk and honey. Yes, he promised you milk and honey, but he's giving you cow and beef. So that means you need to put in the work in order to get the milk and honey out of it.